What up, and welcome. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. I'm back with another video. This is a student management system application. So this is just a continuation. We were here in the back end. We have managed to migrate from the local system, the local files, because it was just only the front end, to the XAMPP file, which is the server file. Even though XAMPP is still locally, but we have moved from just front end files to the PHP file. So this is where we are now. So if we go to our if we go to the localhost SMS, and then this is what we see, because it's loading this index. So this is what this index is displaying. So meaning that we are unable to reach the login screen that we were loading like before, while the system was running locally as just only the UI. So how are we going to make sure that we do that? Okay, now we need to find a certain mechanism. We need to know if the system is loading for the very first time. Okay, so that if it's loading for the very first time, then it must load this HTML to ask you to log in. Okay, I must clearly state this. Okay, let me just write here warning and comment it. Okay, let me type it here. There is a better way to do this. The reason why it took me so long to continue with this course is because when I'm teaching you the simple stuff, the basics, like how to quickly solve things, I'll realize that there is a better way to do this. I was like, okay, let me involve also that. And then when I'm doing whatever that I'm doing, let's say I'm implementing the router, I will be like, okay, there is a better way to do this, there is a better way to do this. And then I ended up formulating a complicated course module for beginners. So now I'm trying to take things light. So I'm just gonna do some shortcuts here, but please bear in mind there is a better way to do this. If you might be interested in a better way to do that, please shoot a comment below, because what is important, as much as you are a beginner, but it's important to understand the programming principle, the programming fundamentals, good programming practices like clean code, design pattern, and also to develop an application that is easy to maintain. But at this moment, we are going to sacrifice some of those for the sake of this course. So we need to find a way of determining if is this loading for the first time. So how are we going to do that? Okay, let's use sessions. Let's use sessions to determine that. So first, let's have the if statement. Okay, first of all, whatever that we get from the user interface, it's going to be accessed by a global variable called post. Let's just type here post. Okay, post. Okay, we are not inside PHP, that's why this thing does this. Okay, so we've got this variable. So what we are going to do, we are going to say var dump okay, var dump. We are going to dump this post as it is. Okay, let's dump this post as it is and see what we are doing here. When we are loading, first loading, we want to dump all the content of this post variable, which is obviously for now it's going to be empty. As you can see that it's empty. As you can see, it's 0 because there is nothing there. So this global variable contains all the information that comes from the user interface. So at the moment it's empty. Okay, And then what we also want to do, we want to start a session. Okay, we want to start a session. Let's say session underscore start session underscore start. Okay, now we are starting a session. The reason why we start a session is because we want to load session variable. What is a session variable? A session variable is that variable that keeps track of your information while you are still using the system. Let's say that we are using an online shopping store or whatever, so we will log in into that online shopping store with our own details, and then after we are done logging in, you will find out that in the header section of that online shopping store, our name will always be there. Something like this will always be there, no matter where you are, on which page you are in the system, but your name will always be here. That means that as soon as you log in, those variables, your name and your username and all those things, they are saved in a session variable. That variable is always available globally in any page that you can be in the script, as long as that session has not been terminated. So that's why we are starting a session, because we want to access session variable so that we can access the session variable and test if is this a new session, so that if it's a new session, let's say we log in, or we load the login screen. If it's not a new session, that means that we must load the dashboard. So if it's not clear for now, don't mind, things are going to be clear. So what we are going to do now that we have started a session, also we are going to dump var dump. Var dump means that you are just displaying something, a certain variable on the screen, but it's different from echo, just displaying a string. Okay, now let's check the super global session variable. Here I'm going to just echo br for break, so that there could be a space between the session data and the post data. Okay, let's see. As you can see, even on the session variable there is nothing. Okay, there is nothing, we've just got empty string. Okay, now what we are going to do after after we have displayed a session, what we are going to do, we are going to assign something to a session variable. Assign something to a session variable. Let's say it's a user name, and what that username is, the username is Matthew. The username is Matthew, and save. Okay, as you can see, when we are loading for the first time, we are starting a session variable. We cannot be able to access the session variable without starting a session. Let's just quickly confirm that so that you can see what will happen. As you can see that we are trying to access a session without a session variable without starting a session. So let's continue. Now we are loading for the first time. We are displaying a session. That means that array, obviously it's supposed that it has got nothing, and then we echo the break. We just put the spaces there on the HTML document, and then we display the post variable. Obviously it's going to be empty, and then we also put some what can I say, we put some spaces on the HTML, and then we assign something to the session variable, and then after that we will display the session variable again to see what's in there. Let's refresh and see. Okay, session variable is 0, the post is 0. Now that we have assigned something in the session variable, now the session variable has got an array with the name Matthew, which is the key, its username, and the value is Matthew. So for now, let me just end this tutorial here so that it cannot be complicated. What is important in this tutorial, we have managed to set up our session, and we have managed to set up we have to assign something in the session variable. So one last thing so that you can just understand where we were going here. So what we are going to do here, we are going to say if, okay, if, let me write and open and close the curly braces. This is what we are trying to do. This is where we are going with this. If, okay, there is a function in PHP called isSet. Okay, if it's set, let's say session username. Okay, if inside this array there is something, then echo session set. Okay, echo session set if there is something. That means else, let's echo session not set. Session not set. Okay, I think we can delete these things. The only one that we can take is this one. Okay, before we end this video, let's just do that. So we are starting a session, of course, but did we set something to the session? No. Suppose now here we see session not set. As we can see, session not set. As soon as we set the session variable, this session, this key username to Matthew, suppose it say session is set. Let's click here. As you can see now, session is set. Okay, so it will mean that when we are done logging in, since this session variable is always available globally, we can set it right after we have done logging in, so that we can always access it in this script. When we load this script must always ask, is the session set? Yes. If the session is set, then we are going to say load dashboard or load the control panel or whatever. If it's not set, then we are going to say load login. I think now it makes sense. Let's see what is it going to show now. Loading the dashboard because the session is set. Because the session is set. Let me just quickly delete this and see what's going to happen before I close the video. Session is still set. Why session is still set? It's because of we have not terminated this session. We have set the session, but the session is still running unless we terminate it. Let me end this video here. It's been a lot that I have dumped, a lot of information. It will need a little bit of processing, but however, now we are leveling up. We are getting into the essence of object-oriented programming. I'm happy that we've made this far. Otherwise, for me, Matthew Msingati, please just check my channel and subscribe. See you on the next one.